Level 1, the introduction. You're sitting in a coffee shop on a Wednesday morning. The man across from you slid a prepaid phone across the table 11 seconds ago. You haven't touched it yet. He has a firm handshake and a calm voice, and he found you through a contact you trust. He says the word consulting. He says the word discretion. He mentions a number. You don't ask too many questions. That's the first thing you get wrong. You've been out of work for 4 months. The accounting firm downsized. You are $2,840 behind on rent. The number he mentioned covers all of it in a single payment. You pick up the phone. He tells you to leave yours at home from now on. You think that's a little unusual. You take the phone anyway. Level 2, the books. Your first week, nobody tells you what you're working with. They don't have to. The numbers do it for you. You're managing accounts for what appears to be a chain of car washes, a construction company, and an import business operating out of 3 different states. On paper, it's clean. In practice, the cash volumes make no sense. A car wash clearing $400,000 a month. A construction company with no employees on payroll and a full project schedule. You're not an idiot. You know what this is, but nobody has said the word out loud. And as long as nobody says the word out loud, you can keep telling yourself you're just an accountant doing accounting. You reconcile the books. You flag nothing. You send the file. 3 hours later, $12,000 appears in an account with your name on it. You stare at the number for a long time. Then, you close the laptop. Level 3, the system. By month 2, you understand the architecture. The car washes are cash intake points. The construction company is the first layer. Invoices paid to contractors that don't exist. Costs that absorb the surplus. The import business is the exit. Goods moving across borders, values inflated, money arriving clean on the other side. It's elegant. That's the part nobody tells you. It's not chaotic. It's not sloppy. It's a system built by people who understood finance better than most people who work on Wall Street. You learn to speak the language. Ghost vendors, loan-back schemes, trade-based laundering. You build models that could survive an audit. You find inefficiencies and fix them. You get good at this. This is the hidden reality of how billions move without a single red flag. Not through violence, not through obvious crime, through spreadsheets, through shell companies registered in Delaware and Nevada and New Mexico, through the same financial instruments any legitimate business uses, through people like you sitting at a laptop on a Wednesday morning telling themselves it's just accounting. A second phone arrives, different contact, higher tier. You've been promoted. Nobody used that word either. Level 4, the test. In month 4, there's a discrepancy, $80,000 unaccounted. It appears in one ledger and vanishes before the next. You find it on a Thursday afternoon. You sit with it for 6 hours. You have 3 options. You report it up the chain and hope it was their mistake. You bury it and hope nobody else finds it. Or you trace it yourself and present the answer before anyone asks the question. You trace it. 48 hours. You find the gap. A timing error on a wire transfer, legitimate on both ends, misaligned by 72 hours. You write a clean 1-page summary. No accusations, no alarm, just the answer. You send it Sunday night. Monday morning, the man in the polo shirt calls you for the first time since the coffee shop. He says, "Good catch." 2 words. You understand that you just passed something. You don't know exactly what, but the temperature in the room changed, even through the phone. A week later, your monthly figure doubles. Level 5, the comfortable lie. You move apartments, better building, better neighborhood. You tell your family you picked up a long-term consulting contract, which is technically true. You buy a car, nothing flashy. You know better than that. but new, reliable, yours. You stop flinching when you open the accounts. The numbers that used to feel enormous now feel like numbers. You've recalibrated. This is the part nobody warns you about. Not the fear, but the absence of it. You have a routine now. Coffee, laptop, reconcile, send. The work itself is not so different from the accounting firm. Quieter, actually. No office politics, no performance reviews. You've stopped asking where the money comes from. That's not a conscious decision. It happens gradually. The same way you stop noticing the sound of traffic after you've lived near a highway long enough. You are good at your job. You are paid well for your job. You go to sleep at a reasonable hour. You've built a very comfortable lie and you've moved inside it. Level 6. The exposure. You find out what happens to accountants who make mistakes. Not directly. Not in a way anyone could call a threat. A name comes up in a meeting. Casual, offhand. Someone mentions that the previous person in your position is no longer in your position. You ask where he went. The room goes quiet in a specific way. Not hostile, not dramatic, just quiet. Nobody answers the question. The conversation moves on. You don't sleep that night. You go back through everything you know. The accounts you manage, the names you've seen on documents, the amounts, the routes. You realize for the first time the full geometry of what you're inside. Not just a client, not just a contract, a structure. And you are load-bearing. That's the part that changes everything. You're not an employee who can be let go. You're a liability who has to be managed. Level 7. The DE letter. It comes on a Tuesday morning. You find it under your car. A GPS tracker, black, magnetic, smaller than your palm, pressed against the inside of the rear wheel arch where nobody looks unless they're looking. You don't touch it. You walk back inside. You sit down at the kitchen table and you don't move for 40 minutes. You don't know who put it there. That's the part that breaks you open. It could be the DEA. It could be a rival organization running surveillance. It could be your own people, checking whether you go anywhere you shouldn't. You pull everything you can find. Prepaid searches. Nothing from your regular devices. What you find tells you there's an active investigation. A case number, sealed indictments, 14 months of federal surveillance on the network you've been managing for 11. 14 months. You've been working for 11. The dark side of the books isn't the crime. It's the fact that you're now more valuable to the government than you are to the cartel. You know how the money moves. You know the shell structure. You know names, not the names at the top, but the names in the middle. And those are the names prosecutors actually need. You sit very still. You think about the quiet in the room when you asked where the previous accountant went. You think about the tracker. You still don't know whose it is. Level 8. The choice. You have 72 hours to decide. Option 1. You make contact. Through a lawyer? Always through a lawyer. You offer cooperation, full disclosure. The accounts, the structure, the names in the middle. In exchange, witness protection, a new identity, relocation. Your life as you know it ends, but you live. Option 2. You stay silent. You trust that the organization values what you know and has more to lose from your exposure than from your protection. You continue. You keep your name. You keep your life. You accept that this calculation could be wrong. There is no option 3. You make the call. We don't tell you which one. That's not the point. The point is that you're making it alone. In a room you rented with money you can't explain. On a prepaid phone that has one contact saved in it. After 11 months of telling yourself it was just accounting. Level 9. The aftermath. The cost arrives slowly. If you cooperated, a new city, a new name, a job that uses none of your skills, weekly check-ins with a handler who knows everything about you, and whose name you'll never know. You watch the case unfold from a distance, through news alerts on a phone that belongs to someone you used to be. If you stayed, the tension becomes permanent. Every new account feels like a test. Every quiet room feels like the room where the question doesn't get answered. You get a raise. You buy nothing with it. You wait. Both paths have the same texture. Hypervigilance, isolation, a very specific kind of exhaustion that comes from maintaining a version of yourself that doesn't exist. You used to be good with numbers. Now numbers are the only thing in your life that still makes sense. Level 10, the exit, you're out. However it ended, cooperation, exposure, or simply outliving your usefulness, you're no longer in the chair. The accounts are still running. The car washes are still open. The construction company just filed its quarterly returns. The import business cleared a shipment last Thursday. The money is still moving. Somewhere in a coffee shop on a Wednesday morning, a man in a polo shirt is sliding a prepaid phone across a table. The person across from him is doing the math. They're thinking about rent, about 4 months of nothing, about a debt of exactly $2,840. They haven't touched the phone yet. They will. The cycle continues.